5 Minute Friday. Let's go home. Sorry, my voice is kind of, I have just a little bit of a head cold, so it is what it is when you do a little traveling. Gotta go. For this 5 Minute Friday, I want to answer a part of a question that I got on the forum, and it came from Brian, and he asked about working with a corporation or working for a bigger company like that, and how to kind of deal with the ins and outs and just the different things that go on there. So let's put 5 minutes on the clock and see where this one goes. So, when it comes to working for a larger corporation or a company that thinks they are a larger corporation, from my personal experience, I don't like it. I have not had very good experiences with it because they are very, very utilization and efficiency mindset, and that's it. That's all they care about are the numbers, and they can stare at a computer screen all day. Your reviews are based on your efficiency and utilization. Your raises are based on your efficiency and utilizations. And I've worked in some places where that was okay, and like they gave you enough time to do the work and do the work properly so that you could actually meet their efficiency rates. And other places, it was almost impossible to meet the efficiency rates. And then when there was no work to do, they would get mad at you for not, your utilization would go down because there was nothing to do. It's like, well, what do you want me to log into? But they didn't understand that because all they cared about was those two numbers. And you have to deal with a lot of stuff with, managers that are just trying to work their way up the ladder. They don't know anything about the processes that you're going to do. It's hard. You kind of have to have some thick skin to work in a bigger corporation. Hopefully you've got a manager that has moved up in the ranks, that worked in your area or worked in something similar to it, so that they understand if, for instance, in the aircraft repair industry, some parts you would get, there'd be like 2 cracks on it, and you could fix those 2 cracks in an hour and move it on. And it would, the routing time on it would be an hour and a half or something. And they're like, cool, good job. No, they never say good job, but it moves on. And then the next time you get the same exact part, same routing time in an hour and a half, but there's 60 cracks on it. And then it took you 4 hours to fix all those cracks. Then they come into your booth and be like, hey, why did this one take so much longer? And it's like, well, because it had more cracks on it. Well, the last one only took you this long to do it. It's like, because there was less cracks on it. But it wasn't, it's the same part though. No, it wasn't. It's the same shape, but it wasn't the same part. So you just have to be able to deal with the numbers game. And if you can't deal with the numbers game, it can be very, very, very frustrating. It can be frustrating. And I know I'm kind of laboring on this a little bit on the utilization and efficiencies, and I understand completely that they need to know how long a job's going to take and how long you are actually being on a job for billable hours and stuff. I totally get that. I understand that 100%. But the disconnect for me when it comes to larger companies like that is they never listen to the people that are on the floor. They never listen to you and me. They always listen to the managers who are lying to them 90% of the time. and just trying to make themselves look good and make their department look good so that they can move up. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the path they chose, and that's what they have to do to move up. But like I said, you have to deal with all the, what's the new flavor of the month, is what Jody would say in the podcast of, like this time we're doing Six Sigma, next time it's 5S, now it's going to be this, now it's going to be that. And it's just like, we're putting in Gemba boards, we have to do a meeting every morning to talk about the numbers that some people care about, not many people do. They have a different mindset on how business runs and manufacturing runs, because that's what they were trained in, and that's how they were trained for it to work. And it works on their end, it works. But there is a big disconnect to me from what happens in the office behind the computer screen versus what happens in the booths behind the curtains. And that needs to change. I don't know how that can change, because it's been this way for so long, they don't know how to do it any different. But it is comical whenever you do get into those situations where you can see things coming, and you can see, it's almost like I've worked in places where they would just implement something, and you could already see the same group of people walking around figuring out the next thing to do. And it was like, well, why don't you give this some time to, if this was a great idea that you sunk a bunch of money into, why don't you let it, see if it works? But they never do. They're always moving on to the next thing. And I'll kind of say something that I always say to people when I'm working with them is, if your job is to come up with a process that is 100% accurate, works every single time, and you achieve that job, do they need you anymore? So the people that are coming up with, the corporate people that are coming up with the new flavor of the month, they're just trying to do their job. They're trying to stay relevant. They're trying to do all these things. But us on the floor, we have to deal with it. We have to do the new stuff. And it can be very, very frustrating at times. There are some benefits to this. I know this one's running a little bit longer than normal, but there are some benefits to it. It's a little bit maybe safer ish, because it's a bigger corporation, so they may have a little bit more money to push through lean times. But at the same time, on the flip side of that, some corporations are pretty quick to lay people off whenever lean times come. So you just have to understand where you're working and understand they're not going to change. You're not going to change them ever. You're not going to get them to understand what you think is right. To me, it's one of those, like, I don't even bother anymore. I'm just being 100% honest. Like, I don't even bother suggestions. I don't bother with, asking for tools, because I know I'm not going to get them. So just recently at my current job, which is a family-owned company, but it's a fairly large family-owned company, and they kind of run it like it's a corporation. I just ordered my own little hydraulic puck ram, because I knew that I wouldn't get it, but I needed it for repairing some parts. So it's just easier for me to just go ahead and order it, buy it. I bought it used off Amazon, which was the first time I bought something used on Amazon. And it was $60. So, but it's mine, and it works. I used it today. It worked very well, and it's mine. So if I leave, guess what? the tool that works is going bye-bye. I say all that with just, you just have to remember, you gotta just kind of roll with the punches. You gotta just deal with it, and hopefully you've got a manager that's good. I've had I've honestly not had any managers in a corporate company that was any good at all. Like, for example, last example, I had a guy that was giving me my review and was telling me that I need to lower my quality to up my production rates, and I just basically told him, no, I repair aircraft engine parts. I'm not lowering my quality. I don't make handrails. And he wasn't too happy with that. But I kind of laid into him a little bit when he was like, do you have anything you want to say to me? And I was like, well, actually, yeah. And the first time I just kind of, not puffed my chest out, but said, you know what? Yeah, actually, I do have some stuff to say to you, because you don't, I'm like, how can you tell me I need to work faster at this, and I need to do this faster, and I need to be able to do this faster, but you've never put a hood on? You have no idea what it takes, but you can tell me how fast to do it. It didn't rub me the right way, that's for sure. So the long or the short of it with working with corporations is you just have to roll with the punches. And again, this is just my personal experience. There may be some corporations, and I hope and pray that there's corporations out there that are wonderful to work for, that managers are moved up from within the company, that they have an understanding of what actually happens on the floor, and then in the Gemba meetings and stuff like that, they actually talk to the employees. And it's all probably a dream, but I hope that there are corporations out there that are like that. And if you happen to work for a corporation or just a bigger company that deals with a lot of utilization and efficiencies, and that's all they look at, just do your best you possibly can to meet their efficiencies. And if you can't, make sure, if you have a computer system, the best thing I can tell you to do, if there's a comment section in the computer system when you log in and log out of a job, always comment of why a job took too long, or if you had to wait on something, or if there was any reason that you are over the time allotted for that job. Make a comment, write it down, note it in some way, shape, or form, even if you have to, make a note in a notebook or something, so that when they come back to you and they say, hey, on this date and this date, this took this much longer, why'd that happen? Go back to your notebook, open it up, look back, and be like, oh, I had to wait for quality control to come look at this part, and it took an extra 30 minutes for them to come get to me. That's why. And then they may say, oh, okay, doubtful. But if you put comments, you're kind of CYA. And the best thing I can say to do that is, like I said, add comments, roll with the punches. Try not to get frustrated when they change the thing they just implemented, and take advantage of the PTO. I know this 5-Minute Friday went a little bit longer. Hopefully you didn't mind a little saltiness. Just kind of is the way it is. Sorry for my voice being a little different, just because I've got a touch of a head cold. And if you got any questions you want to hear for a future 5-Minute Friday, or any videos that you want to see from me or any other instructors here on Welder Skills, let us know. leave it in the comments of the videos, leave it in the comments over on the forum. Let us know, and we'll do our best to accommodate those. And with all that said, we'll catch you next week.